Hey, I thought it'd be helpful for us to talk about relationships for the next couple of weeks because we all need help, okay? I know you're thinking, what are you talking about? Hang on, you are going to need some help, okay? We all need help. Now, I wish there was a system in place that we could just sort of have a predictable way of relating to one another, but we live in a dynamic world and everything's changing and people are changing. I mean, really, it's a wonder at all that we've got the ability to get together and be together and stay together. I mean, really, that's a miracle within itself. I mean, just getting together is tough. I put on my Instagram this week some funny stories about, dating, and I had a response from a lady that goes to our Missouri City campus named Sarah, and Sarah was talking about one of her first dates with her husband, Jordan, and they went to work out together as a couple. Now, I don't recommend working out together in your early dating stages, but what do I know? But anyway, they go work out together. It's one of their very first dates. And she throws him a medicine ball. Y'all know what a medicine ball is? And knocks out his front 2 teeth, okay? So it's like, how did y'all ever get married? I mean, really, how did that ever work? Well, my first date with Lisa, that didn't go very well either. I started dating Lisa in high school. I was 16 years old and asked her out. And I'm a classy guy, so I took her to the Sonic Drive-In for some food. And, I have always been a big spender. And but at the same time, I was seeing another girl named Leslie, okay, because I was a playa. And why is that funny? I don't know why that's funny. And so I pull into the Sonic Drive-In with Lisa for our very first date, and I push the button to order, and I look over at her and I say, "What would you like to eat, Leslie?" And she says, I didn't even catch it. She says, "My name's Lisa, and I'll have just a glass of water." I wanted to buy her a steak or something. I don't know how we survived that. We've been married 30 years, 4 kids, 2 grandkids. Let's clap for the survival of the Kelleys. Hey, dating's complicated, right? Dating is so complicated. It's just very difficult to do. And I know at our West End campus we have a lot of daters, but here we have a lot of daters too. And some of you have been burned. Some of you fear intimacy. Some of you saw your parents' relationship and said, "No, thank you." We're resistant to taking the next step, right? And so when you get to a place where you're like saying, somebody says, "Well, we need to define the relationship." They have that DTR. You define it as over. It's like, okay, we got to that point. It's over because you're a recreational dater. You're a serial dater. That's what you are. See, you're in it for the fun, right? You want to have a good time. You're in it for the weekend. You're in it for the pleasure. You're in it for the sex. You're in it for something, and you're just going. So when it gets serious, you get fearful. So this series on relationships may not be timely for you, but at some point, here's what I believe: you're going to get tired of that, and you're going to want more, and you're going to want intimacy, and you're going to want health. And what I want to tell you today, and all the married people here will tell you this: you don't just turn on a switch toward as you're journeying toward intimacy and say, "Now I'm going to do it right." You don't start a serious relationship with a clean slate, okay? You bring everything that you've been doing in with you. It's like you don't just start with good habits, right? You have to develop those habits. And so I just want to tell you, if you're a serial dater, a recreational dater, or you're not interested in intimacy, that you need to be careful because what you're doing today is going to follow you around. I had a pastor friend of mine that I follow quite a bit. He says it this way. He says, "You're present," this makes sense, "you're present today, the way you're doing your life today becomes your past at some point, probably tomorrow." Okay, you following this? And your past and shows up in your future. And we all know that. You're dragging everything from your childhood into this relationship. So you can't just say, "Well, I know I'm just doing things that aren't great right now, but one day I'm not ready for that, but I'm going to do that." And so this is the reality. This is deep, y'all. And so we got to figure this out. We know this as a married couple. It happens some point when you're married and you have this thought. Hopefully you're not like me and dumb enough to actually say this out loud. But when something happens in your marriage relationship or your intimate relationship, this thought comes, please, this is maybe the most helpful thing I say to you all day today. Don't say this out loud. But when the thought comes in and it happens, there it is, right there. There it is. And you think, that's just like your mother. Do not say that out loud. I just saved your marriage right there. That's it. So don't. do that. And the reality is we just drag everything here. Now, here's the thing we're going to talk about today. Over the next few weeks, you're going to love this series. I promise you it's going to help you. And the reason it's important is because good relationships, intimate relationships are a key to a happy life. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how healthy you are or whatever else is going well. If you don't have good, intimate relationships that are healthy, you don't have a good life. Life isn't working. I mean, most of the problems that you have right now centered around relationships. That's the way it works. So how do we do this? This is important. Now, I want to sort of debunk a myth today that I think is really going to help you, that our young people, all of us at some point have bought into this myth. It's a myth that the society has told us is true, and we want to believe this is true, and we know, especially if you're married, you know this is not true, but you want to believe it's true. It's got to be true. This seems like it's got to be true, but it's not true, and the myth is this. It's the myth of the right person. Right? Like if I could just find the right person, then we could have the relationship, right? And so that is a myth that we're going to talk about. And the reason, sort of the clue I get from the Apostle Paul's writing is that cannot be true is this passage in Romans. It says this, it says, all have sinned and fall short of God's glorious idea. So broken people get together and try to have a relationship with other broken people. There isn't the perfect person. There isn't this idea of, that I'm going to find the right person, then our relationship's going to be working out. So it doesn't work that way. I know we want it to work that way, but it doesn't work that way. And here's what we're thinking. We're thinking, now I'm out there looking for the right person, and your parents, your mom, maybe have told you this. If you're dating, you say, well, gosh, I'm dating. I'm looking for the right person. It seems so right to want that, right? And somebody said, oh, don't worry about it. You'll find the right person. And when you find the right person, what happens? Everything's going to be all right. That kind of deal. So you're looking for the right person, and you're hoping that the right person is also looking for the right person, and you guys get together for a relationship, and you found how do you know when the right person has found the right person? When do these two people know that they are the right people for each other? How does that happen? And it's really simple. The way we know that this happens is this word here, chemistry. We just feel like, I can't quit thinking about you. And you tell your friends, it's like, it's never been like this. I mean, I've never loved like this. We just talk for hours on the phone and texting each other, and look at this GIF he sent me. And you get emotional because we're soulmates, right? Soulmates. And you complete me. You complete me. And it's this chemistry. It's this passion. It's this, oh my God, you just get googly eyed. And your friends are telling you, slow down, man. Be careful, That guy, are you sure? Because I don't see what you see. Oh, you don't understand. You don't get it, do you? And it's common thinking that we feel this way and it's unique and we've never loved this way because you've met the right person. And since you've met the right person and you have all this passion involved, you want to explore that. You want to take it for a test drive. So you just explore all this intimacy, right? And your relationship gets physical and then it gets sexual, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it just fans the flame. So it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is amazing, right? And then if you're a Christian at all, you say things like, I know God has brought this person. Y'all been there, right? Then you get together or you move in together and you have this relationship and things start going wobbly on you, right? And you start having relational problems, not chemistry problems. But the relational problems, because you didn't develop any relationship skills and you didn't explore your relationship, you just went on chemistry, that all of a sudden starts hindering the way you feel about one another, right? Because you start going, well, we don't communicate, we don't relate, and, things have changed, and it's that kind of deal. And now all of a sudden you don't feel the way you used to feel. and you don't think this, but you kind of think this, is maybe I married the wrong person. The person was the right person, but now they've become Franken person, and this is a crazy person, and I just don't feel. And you're married now, or you're living together, and things seem a little committed, and you're going, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do it. And then here's how an affair happens, by the way. This is the anatomy of an affair. You go to work or the gym or a neighborhood, or you meet somebody at church, and you go, hey, and they go, hey, and they smile, and they have this twinkle in your eye, and you start feeling that feeling again. It's chemistry. And it's like, wow, I haven't felt this way in a long time. And this must be the right person. And that person was the right person, but now this person is the right person because they make me feel, whew, you don't understand it. Your friends are warning you. Are you nuts, man? You're in a relationship. What are you doing? You don't understand. I'm in love. And you feel this person, and you repeat the thing. Right? So it just doesn't work that way. So we're going to have to be intentional about developing relationship skills because the chemistry and the passion comes and goes, right? That's why we need good boundaries around our relationships, especially at the beginning of those relationships, so we just don't make big, long, lifelong decisions based on chemistry and how we feel. So instead of the myth of finding the right person, which makes everything all right, then here's the idea that I'm going to suggest, that we become the right person. This is totally within your control. Because the right person that was the right person, now is not the right person, is now the wrong person. That's not within your control. But this is within your control, becoming the right person. Here's another way to say it. If you're dating, divorced dating, or single and dating, here's another way to say this. Are you who the person you are looking for is looking for? Because, quite frankly, the stereotypical person that you're looking for, right? If they saw you today, experienced you today, would you be the person that they're looking for? Or do you feel like there's a switch that you can just turn on and go, wow, I'm not doing anything like I want. I'm not the person I want to be, but, I'm having a lot of fun right now. But if you met that person and be like, I don't know, would that person even be interested in you? Are you that? Are you that? Here's a harder question if you're married. I've been married a long time. Are you who the person you are married to wants to be married to? Collective groan. It's that kind of deal. We have this myth of the right person. I've even met mostly guys, I guess girls do this too, but mostly guys, young guys in their 20s, that actually have a written out list. If it's not written, it's at least in their mind of what the perfect person, and it's always in the guy's list, it's always physical attributes, right? And, a blonde, certain height, certain weight, professional, that kind of thing. And they're going around thinking, if I meet this, bingo, a needle in a haystack. Here I have found the right person that my life is going to be, this relationship. This is the key I've been looking for. And the reality is we have to become the right person. Now, here's what I want you to hear. God's created you to become the right person. God's created you for relationship. God's created you in His own image, and you have something that's instinctive, that's deep in your soul, that desires for another human being to look you in the eye and say, I love you. I desire you. I think you're amazing. We all have that in our life. Now, whether it's a romantic relationship, a child, a friend, a small group, whatever it is, you have that. It's because God put that in you. God's created you for this relationship, and we're not very good at it because we're broken. So God's given us a list, a helpful list to say, here's how you become the right person. Now, I'll say this last thing, and then we'll get to the Bible. Are y'all still here? Okay. Here's the thing. When I became a follower of Jesus, I thought I was signing up for a ticket to heaven because I had a lot of shame in my life, and I had done a lot of things wrong, and I knew God needed to forgive me. And I found out that Jesus died on the cross so that I could be forgiven and not have to pay for my own sins, and that He rose from the dead so I could have a relationship. And when I heard that at 16 years old, I believed it. And I became a follower of Christ. Now, I thought I was getting a ticket to heaven and forgiveness of my sins, which I got. What I did not know I was signing up for was that God, from that point to this point, has been working on me to change me and to create in me a Christ-like image. I didn't know I was signing up for that. I wanted a ticket to ride, that kind of deal. And so God's going, no, I want you to be a different human being. So transformation and conforming to the image of Jesus is God's agenda for all of us. Now, I know it's not your agenda. I know you'd love to sign up for an agenda where God would change your spouse or the one you love. But God's dealing with you, okay? So he's given us this list. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It's called the love chapter. Y'all heard of the love chapter, right? And it's probably written or said in your first, second, or third marriage. And it's a powerful passage of Scripture, right? Love is, And so I want you, here's your homework if you choose to take it, is I want you to memorize this from 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through around 8 or 9. It starts with love is patient. That section ends with love never fails, okay? So from there to there, I want you to memorize it. It won't take you long. I'm telling you, this is the list. If we're going to become the right person, if we're going to become more like Christ, if we're going to be better at our relationships, this list is a big help for us. Here's how it starts. I won't do them all, but here's one. Love is patient. Now, this isn't something you're born with or not born with. This is put in here by the Apostle Paul writing to a group of people saying you can develop this. Now, this was very convicting for me because when I say love is patient, I'm just not a patient person. And yet, if I want to become the person that I'm married to, wants to be married to, this is a directive for me. So how can the impatient people be patient? Now, my wife is naturally patient. It's very aggravating and frustrating for me that she does this very naturally, but there's other things on the list for her. So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to say, okay, I am commanded here. If I'm going to become the person, I'm going to have to be patient. You know what patient means? Patient means you don't put pressure on the other person. Patient means you're a better listener than talker. That you care about the other person's pace more than your own pace. So this is a skill you can develop, but it takes practice, just like any relationship skills. This is why we teach our children, by the way, how to be polite, because you can't just say, now be polite. They have to have a track record of being polite so that when they get into that important thing that you don't want to be embarrassed by, they're polite. So you teach them, so they practice it. So I'm telling you, learn the list. If you're dating, every time you go on the date, figure this out. Don't put pressure on anybody. Figure it out. How to be patient. How to figure out their pace. If you're putting pressure on somebody, that's a problem for you. Here's another one. Ready? Love is kind. Now, kind is kind of a word that's very difficult for us to pinpoint. What does that mean, kind? Here's the better word. The better word is love is considerate. Considerate. We consider the feelings of others. That's what's loving. Now, I'm kind of a type A guy. You probably figured this out. And so early on in my marriage, I would say, this is early on. This is BC, before counseling. And, I would say things, and then I would justify what I said and how I said it by saying, like, I'm just being me. I can't manage everybody's emotions or their perceptions of me. And so the counselor was able to say, so you don't really care how people feel after you interact with them. Well, I didn't say that. Yeah, you did. You said that. So this is the idea where you consider the other person's feelings in the deal. You're considerate, that kind of thing. It's very, very difficult. So what I say and how I say it is very important because it's considerate and empathetic to the other person, which is very difficult to do in real time, by the way. And so this is the idea of becoming the person. Here's another one. Love does not envy. Now, envy is kind of a hard thing to pinpoint, so let me put it in real terms for you. Love does not envy means that you don't tear somebody else down to build yourself up, especially in an intimate relationship. You don't one-up somebody. You don't top their story with your story, right? This is a great dating relationship. If the person you're seeing always does this to you, they're not loving without envy. This is envy. This is the idea where you champion the other person. that you're always championing them, right? You don't get insecure and try to outdo them, but you champion them. And this is kind of really difficult. I'll give you a really dumb illustration of this because it's the only one I can think of. But Lisa is a professional shopper, and she loves to shop. Now, she doesn't buy much, which is really great, but she loves to hunt and shop for the bargain. I mean, this is a sport for her. She wishes it was in the Olympics, right? If she could find a deal, she loves to find a deal. So early in our marriage, BC, she would come home with something, and she'd be so excited, and she'd hold it up, and she'd say, "Guess what I paid for that?" And I'm thinking, I don't care. I don't even know what that is. You know, I don't care. You know, I didn't say that, but it's like, oh. And I'd always guess low just because I'm aggravating. I'd go, what, would you pay $1 for it? You know, it's like, no, I paid $12.50. And you could just see her like, oh, she was proud of something. And I was like, so after counseling, I was able to say, well, how can I get excited about the things she's excited about? So I figured this is important to her. You know, that she goes out and hunts great deals and finds them, and she brings them home. It's like a hunter. She goes out, she traps the wild game, she kills it, bags it, brings it home as a trophy, you know, and she shows it to me. Guess what I paid for this? So now I figured this out. You know, when she comes in, oh, honey, you're not going to believe this. Guess what I found? Guess this. And I put everything down. What is it, baby? She holds up a dress. She says, guess what I paid for this? And I guess high, man. It's like, I don't know, man, that is amazing. That's a $60, $70, $80 dress. And she'll say, no, $12.50, boom! $12.50. And I'm giving her 5, pow, way to go! You're the queen of shopping for bargains. And she says, you know I am. It's important to her, you know? It's just like, okay, now I don't care about the dress or the sale, but I care about my wife. And if that's her trophy, I'm going to celebrate her trophy. Great, awesome, super, you know? I do the same thing just with different stuff, you know? So I'll come in and say, what'd you think about that sermon? What'd you think? And she'll put everything down. She goes, let me tell you something. You're on fire. You're amazing. You're incredible. I go, no. I mean, there's that place where I kept spitting, and I wasn't clear, and got all excited and didn't finish my sentences. And she gets up in let me tell you something. You are anointed of God. And you're changing my life, and you're changing everybody, and God is using you. And I was, really? And she's like, right here. So I usually follow up with, you want to make out? I mean, that's kind of my next. I mean, she's right here, you know? She's right in my face. And it's like, she usually says, no, but man, you did great today. Why do we need that? We need that because we're so stinking insecure. We need somebody to champion us. We need somebody to say, man, you're doing great. We need somebody to believe in us. And you got to practice to do this, or you'll just talk about the things you care about. And you won't be able to be a cheerleader for somebody else. It'll be all about you. And so we do this. So if you're connecting with somebody that nags you or tears you down or gives you backhanded compliments, you ever got a backhanded compliment like, you're so much more patient than you used to be? It's like, what? Here's my favorite backhanded compliment for a pastor. I'm just training you what not to say, okay? When people come up to me and go, Pastor, your sermons are so much better than they used to be. Really, I'm thankful and grateful and offended all at the same time, because you've only been here like 3 weeks. And so how much better could they be, you know, in 3 weeks? You know, it's like, You know, it's that kind of deal. It's like you don't stink as bad as you used to. Well, you still stink, but it's that kind of deal. It's like, how do we not one-up somebody with a better story, taking away their thunder because they need something in their life that allows them to feel like they're victorious, you know? How do we really become part of their cheering squad? See, this takes practice. Because if you're not careful, you know, all of a sudden you just show up and feel like this is just going to happen. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You've got to practice. Here's a couple more and we'll be done. Love does not boast and it's not proud. It means if you're with a person or you're the person that cannot say they're sorry, like I talked a lot about my need to be right a lot. I need to be right all the time. And if that's you, you're arrogant. I'm arrogant. I'm prideful. I've got to be, like, I want to wow you with my intellect and my debating skills, and I don't have the humility to say being right isn't as important as being together. And so I got to figure out how not to win the argument, but how to win your heart. You see, and that takes practice. That's the idea of saying, man, I got to figure this out, you know? I mean, I can't be arrogant or prideful in this. I've got to figure this thing out. I got to practice this with others. Here's a couple others. Love does not dishonor others. This means love doesn't create regret for others. I know if you're dating, you're saying, what are you talking about? You say, like, disrespect, you know, something that's devious and self-serving. Spring break. It's that kind of deal where you just kind of go, where I just don't want to be the punchline when somebody asks, what's your biggest regret? Well, I met this guy. Most of our biggest regrets, by the way, are relational and sexual in nature. It's like, I met this guy. I regretted ever doing it. Love means you're not that guy. You're not that girl. Here's another one. Love is not self-seeking. You think you can just be self-seeking and pursue all these pleasurable things, dating, and then all of a sudden you get married and you're going to be selfless? It doesn't happen that way. You got to practice this stuff. You know, being self-seeking comes quite naturally to be. Does this come naturally? You know, this idea of does not become self-seeking. Is that natural to any of us? No. You know what is natural to all of us? Chemistry. That's what's natural. It's chemistry. It's this passion that just sort of erupts when you make eye contact and something happens and I feel that happened. You can have that kind of chemistry and passion for 1,000 nameless, faceless people. They don't have to speak the same language. But what God's asking us to become is different. It's like Christ in the sense that we learn how to love in such a way that allows us to have intimate, healthy, amazing relationships with each other. So 1 Corinthians 13 is a great beginning. It's going to require effort. It's going to require intentionality. And this is why the myth of finding the right person is so intoxicating. Because if I can find the right person, I don't have to change. Because the right person is going to make me want to be patient because they're the right person. The right person, if I meet the right person, I'm just naturally going to want to be kind. If I meet the right person, I'm not going to be self-seeking because I'm now with the right person. And the right person makes me want to be not self-seeking but selfless. That's what the right person, because if I could meet this all-powerful right person, then everything's going to be all right. And it's not long before we're singing that, I've lost that love and feeling. Because that person can't keep you feeling that way. It's going to require, you don't have chemistry problems, you have relationship problems. So you're going to have to get better at relationships. Here's how Paul ends this section on the love chapter. Here's what he says. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, and I reasoned like a child. You understand that? I have my 2-year-old grandson and my 8-month-old granddaughter with us this weekend, and they act like children. It's so much fun. So great. But when I became a man, I put ways of childhood behind me. This idea of the myth of the perfect person, I'm going to meet the right person, is childish. It's chemistry. This is the way I feel. And you're chasing that feeling of, it's your job to make me feel this way. And what you really need is to become the person that you're married to, wants to be married to. If you're single, it's to become the person you're looking for, who's looking for you. You want to become that person. And the way to do that is to start developing really great relationship skills. And here's the other thing it does do when you're dating. Here's a dating idea. When you're dating and this is important to you and you want to become this person and you meet people who have no interest in becoming this person, they're less attractive to you. And all of a sudden there's a filter in place that says, I want somebody that wants the same thing I want, to become like Christ. I want to have this kind of character in my life. I'm not looking for one person out there that's going to be the right person that's going to make everything all right with me, because that's a myth. But I'm looking for somebody that's striving forward with trying to love the way God would have us to love. Now all of a sudden you've got something you can work with, relationship skills. So I hope that helps. I hope that you'll be intentional about it, and I hope you'll memorize 1 Corinthians 13 as a beginning place on skill development for your relationships. Let's pray together. Will you pray with me? Father in heaven, thank you so much for loving me, for loving us, for giving us a hope that's beyond our problems or our difficulties or our deficiencies. And I know there's some hurting relationships here, and there's some lonely people here. And I just pray that, God, you would give us encouragement today by allowing us to understand we can become the right person instead of just finding the right person. That we are signing up today for change, for transformation, to conform to your image. And I pray that, God, you would do just an amazing thing in our relationships and help us find happiness and joy in how we relate to each other. We thank you for this in Jesus' name. Amen.